Take it away.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we are going to be talking about limiting beliefs and breaking free from them with these powerhouse, amazing ladies. And I want you guys to join in, grab a cup of coffee, tea, whatever, bring a journal if you'd like, and just basically come chat with us, listen. We're going to give you some insight, practical tools that you can actually take away and have your own little personal toolkit, but also so much insight for you to break free from your limiting beliefs. I'm your host, Ashley Pekulski. I'm a mindset coach, best-selling author, and speaker. Go from overwhelmed to thriving. I help entrepreneurs break through their limiting beliefs so that way they can reach their next level of success in business and in life. So amazing and grateful to have you all watching. Also, I would love to personally get each one of you to introduce yourselves to all the viewers. Oh, Yana.
Oh, I'm first. Okay. Right. Well, thank you for having me here. My name is Yana Yaneva. I'm a psychologist and behavioral psychologist and a chairwoman of the British Psychological Society in Scotland, an author, a business owner of a subscription box for psychology, and a host of a TV show, Ancient Wisdom Through the Ages. And I work with individuals as well as organizations to help them build sustainable psychological safety environment and to enjoy life, basically, with removing anything that is metaphysical.
Love it, love it. Thank you so much for being on here today with us. Annabelle.
Hello, Ashley. Thank you so much for having me with you today. I'm Annabelle Beckwith. I am a business consultant, coach and trainer, and for the last 20 odd years, I have been working with entrepreneurs and executives all over the world to help them build their leadership skills and increase team productivity and boost business growth. I'm also a speaker and a best-selling author and the host of True Calling, a TV show on Phoenix TV.
Amazing. Welcome, welcome. Andrea.
Hi, everybody. My name is Andrea Hunt, and I'm the founder of Living Deliberately Today. It's personal empowerment coaching for a better life. I'm a world traveling transformational life coach and EFT practitioner, and I help people to overcome the fears and anxieties that come along with stepping out of their comfort zones so that they can be the best version of themselves and master the art of living deliberately.
Amazing. Welcome. Martina.
Hi there. Thanks so much for having me, Ashley. It's wonderful to be here. I'm Martina Kwan. I'm a 3-time champion race car driver, 2-time international best-selling author, Italian Emmy Award winner, and the CEO of DK Racing School and Daring to Be Different Coaching. And as a mind-shifting coach, I host confidence retreats as well as help women over 40 find their true love again.
Amazing. Welcome, welcome. And Bella.
Hi, I'm Bella Bliss. I am a transformational and empowerment life coach. I help women play big when they naturally want to play small. And I am an international best-selling author and motivational speaker. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. Lisa.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Elisa Fucci, and I'm a relationship life coach and breathwork facilitator. I help women with coaching through coaching and breathwork, let go of limiting beliefs, let go of emotional baggage, and any negative thought patterns that they have while they're building their successful businesses so they can stop sabotaging their personal relationships and still be successful entrepreneurs.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us, ladies. And I'm so happy to be talking about this because this is like so key. And like, I know my personal experience, like I tried everything and it really does come down to the subconscious mind, being able to break free from these limiting beliefs so that you can reach your full potential. So I'm so excited and I cannot wait to hear all your guys' responses, and anyone watching, just, I'm telling you, grab that journal, take those notes because this is going to be amazing. Awesome. So my first question is what is the limiting belief that you overcame? Yana?
So there are way too many to pick one specifically. But I think it's quite important to start with, what is actually a belief and what is a limiting belief, so we can identify what we have overcame, through experience. And this has been a topic that has been baffling psychologists since, I don't know, dawn of time, basically. And belief is a simple faith in something that does not exist. It's not physical. It doesn't have a shape or a form. So technically, from a psychological point of view, any belief that you have that it's already shaped, it's already limited. And that's pretty much all beliefs that we have, no matter if it's related with I'm not good enough, no matter if it's related with I believe in unicorns, it already has a shape and a form, and it means that it's limiting. So through my experience, I have overcame pretty much all of those, but simply by identifying what is it that I haven't achieved, but I do want to achieve, but I'm not doing it because I believe in something that's not actually there. It's an illusion. It's a mental state. It's not actual. And something specific that I did is literally accepting that I am a psychologist and I love psychology, and that's what makes me so good psychologist, such a good psychologist. And I didn't used to believe in that because I could have seen people everywhere, with big academic backgrounds and researches and projects and PhD in front of their name, and I didn't have that. And yet I've managed to actually impact so many other people without having that background. So that was one limiting belief that I had. It wasn't real. It didn't exist, but I made it real myself. So I think it's quite important that we identify that belief is actually not real. And if we have it, it's already limited because it's already shaped.
I love that you said that. And it's so funny because I always say too, they're like little lies, little lies that we tell ourselves and we can actually believe it, right? So that is so powerful. Thank you so much, Yana. Does anyone want to chime in?
Yeah, I'll just share something, a limiting belief that I held for many, many, many years. And it still catches up with me sometimes. I remember, and I can remember where it comes from. It's this belief that, nobody's interested in anything I've got to say. Who the hell do I think I am? And where it comes from, I remember being very small. I was about 3 or 4, being in the back of somebody's car. I don't remember who it was. In the back of somebody's car, and I was being taken to Sunday school or something like that. And we were waiting for another child to be picked up. And I had this was in England in the 1970s. So you have to try and picture the scene where you'll know what the old the old British telephone boxes look like, those red things. Well, there's those, and then we have these kind of red cylindrical letter boxes that you post letters into. As I started telling this anecdote, I thought this might not culturally translate internationally, but I've started, so I'm going to have to continue now. Anyway, so I was looking at this red telephone box, and like a child, sometimes the wrong word comes out of your mouth, and I was going, I see your posting box, I see your posting box. And the adult sitting in the driver's seat, the child said, oh, it's not a posting box, it's a telephone box. And the adult in the driver's seat said, oh, don't take any notice of her. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Now, they can have little, and I shut up immediately, little idea that for the next 30 something years, don't take any notice of her, she doesn't know what she's talking about, was going to be such a dominating, limiting belief for me to hold. And it only started to, I kind of sort of pushed through things, and I didn't take opportunities because this was my belief, but the opportunities that I did take started to contradict that belief. And actually, it was much more recently I came across the work of Byron Katie. One of the processes that she says is you take your limiting belief, and sometimes the most difficult thing to do is articulate that limiting belief because it's become our truth. We just think it's true now, but articulating it as a limiting belief and saying, do I have all possible evidence to prove conclusively that that's true? And it's well, no, not really. No, I don't, because, I'm working with clients and they seem to appreciate me and come back and so forth. So that's the first thing, is to undermine that belief. Is there incontrovertible evidence that this is true? If that's not the case, could something else be true? Well, yes, something else could be true. And it might be the thing that I prefer to believe is that people, all right, sometimes I'm talking nonsense, but a lot of the time I know what I am talking about. And then once you've started to identify those things, yeah, there was the time when to reinforce those positive beliefs and look for evidence of those positive beliefs, where somebody has come to you for advice, for example, or somebody has said, oh, what was that thing you just said? Or can you share your experience on this? People actually asking for your opinion. So it's almost like the limiting belief has a subconscious hold on you. You have to bring it from the subconscious to the conscious and consciously address it. And depending how long you've held that limiting belief, keep consciously addressing it, because if you don't, you'll slip back into nobody's interested in what you've got to say. And that's not true. It's as you say, Ashley, it's a little lie, but it's become a really big blocker, and it's critical to capture those things, articulate them, and pull them to pieces and replace them with something else. But that was something that I battled with for years.
No, I love that you said that too. And even like the proof, I like they always say like the brain doesn't know what's real, what's fake, but also like showing yourself that proof. And I always say it doesn't matter how big the goal was or small that you achieved or whatever the case may be, but going back and showing myself like, yeah, I did this. Like, yeah, I did that. So I love that. So powerful. Thank you. Anyone else want to chime in? Elisa.
Yeah, so I'm glad you said you were going around and I'm not going first, because it's like it's triggering me, all these things, and like reminding me of all my beliefs. I mean, we're never going to stop having limiting beliefs. And even if we work on one limiting belief, I think it's always going to come back. We're always going to be triggered because we're always evolving. We're always around different people that bring it up. So I think just noticing that we're always going to be healing. That's what this life is about. And also that we might have limiting beliefs that are not even ours, that we carry in our DNA, that have come from our parents, from ancestors. So sometimes there's those limiting beliefs for me. And I also have, most of our limiting beliefs come from when we were children, those first years of age, or again, from our backgrounds. But yeah, for me, one of the limiting beliefs has been that if someone corrects me, it means that I am wrong. It means that I must have said something wrong. I'm not doing enough. And then it's just like, I'm not good enough, right? Which is ultimately everybody's underlying problem. If you peel the onion, the bottom one is like, I'm not good enough. Right? We have all the other ones around it, but ultimately we all feel like we're not good enough. But for me, it's that one. And yeah, I too remember it was like I had to go back and do a lot of inner child healing, which is going back to when you were a child and being who you needed to be for that person. I had to do a lot of that. And I do that with my clients as well, to heal those inner child wounds where you just become the parent or the teacher, whoever created that wound for me. And it was so silly. Right now that I think about it, it was so silly. We would read every night our Bible, and my dad would correct me on the spelling, because that's what you do, right? Like if your kids are learning how to read, you tell them, oh, nope, this is how you pronounce it, right? But I made that mean as a child that if I speak up and I'm corrected, there must be something wrong with me. So now it's been years and years of therapy and different techniques to help me go back and fix that. But recently, this year, I have learned that, yeah, I might be triggered every time I speak, I do events, every time I do classes or I'm in front of people, that belief is going to come up. But like Annabelle said, I go back and find evidence of what to prove the opposite. I go back and say, how is it that what I have to say is important? And even if I am wrong, it'll land on someone one way. So just helping, there's a lot of things that you can do for limiting beliefs and getting rid of them. But just first of all, knowing that they're always going to be there, they might diminish their veracity. They might not be as true at some points in your life, and some really true. Your brain is going to believe it. But going back to your certainty, when those limiting beliefs feel really true and strong, finding certainty in who you really are, in the opposite, or something that can counteract, has been really helpful. So yeah, for me, it's like, I do know what I'm talking about. I do have knowledge. I do have wisdom. And how do I find evidence? And the brain loves to go find evidence. It's like a dog. You throw a bone and it'll go run for it. So if you want to find evidence of something negative, it'll go and do that all day. Throw it and come back. The same can be for positive thoughts. It'll go and find you evidence of the positive thought that you're going to want to reinforce. So that's kind of what's for me.
That's amazing. I love how you said that. Sorry. Like you can't just like wave a magic wand and it's gone. Like it will always be there. Like even I always say, like each level of success you start like upgrading, basically, like you are going to have stuff that even come up even more too, right? So it's so key, important. Love it. Martina.
Yeah. So my thing as a child was that I was half Chinese and half German. So it was really hard living in Hong Kong and not being Chinese enough, and living in Germany and not feeling German enough. So basically I felt like, well, I don't know who I am and I'm not enough. And a technique that I started using in Beirut during the war is daydreaming. And so whenever you have a limiting belief or a negative belief, something that is kind of dragging you down, just daydream the opposite. So I would just daydream about being really popular and people would be clapping for me on stage. And I was a horseback rider. I was riding in a stadium with thousands of people, watching me jump these incredibly high jumps, just like making the new reality in the mind. So daydreaming has been key to not only helping me with those feelings, but to achieving success in life as well.
You nailed that to the dot there. Everyone always calls me like the biggest dreamer. And I'm like, no, there's so much power in like daydreaming, like visualizations, like especially in the morning and the nighttime. It's so powerful. Even athletes use it too for like their games and stuff to win. So there's proof there too. Amazing.
Yep. Making the shapeless belief, basically.
Yep.
Making the shape, unshaped.
100%.
That's unlimited. Yeah.
Unlimited. Andrea, do you have anything to chime in?
Yeah, I was thinking I think the main two that I've kind of dealt with off and on for years are like the idea that I couldn't handle it, if I actually got what I wanted. And then, if somebody gave me that chance. And then the other one is that if I don't have the support for this, then I shouldn't do it, because a lot of times, like, especially ideas, I moved to a bunch of different countries all over the world. Nobody thought that was a good idea from my hometown, I can tell you. And so it was also very difficult sometimes to kind of grapple with that and be like, no, this is something that I want. I have to believe in myself that this is going to be good for me. Even if nobody thinks it's a good idea, even though everybody thinks it's going to be, dangerous or stupid, or, I've heard all sorts of things when I wanted to move to China and Argentina and Mexico and Italy. And the idea that I liked what Alyssa said about kind of evidence. And for me, it was always creating proof, but you have to take that first gigantic step sometimes. And that was always the hardest for me. And so sometimes I really just had to launch, okay, I bought the ticket to China. I have to figure this out from here out, but I took the first step. And I think with a lot of times with my clients, I'm like, okay, what is the first step? Because sometimes we get so lost in what we want to do that we come up with all the reasons why it's not going to be possible. You know what I mean? And all of the evidence for why it wouldn't work, why we don't have what it takes and whatever. Whereas sometimes it's just about, okay, so what's the one bit of proof that you could take for yourself that you're moving forward? The ball is rolling and that you can trust that you're going to figure out that next step. It's like the quote that you don't have to see the whole staircase. Sometimes it's just about taking the first step. And so that's what I've, used over the years, that. And finally, once I found EFT tapping, it was a lot easier to take those big steps, because once I could regulate my nervous system and all of the, the self-doubt, all of the million anxious what ifs that come up when you're like, okay, what if, I get to try and I have no friends? What if I can't do this? What if I can't order food? What if I can't do whatever? And being able to kind of calm those fears down and be like, okay, you know what? Like, I am a person who is able to handle things. I'm adaptable. I'm resilient. I know that I can do this, and it's not going to be an all or nothing fail. Those getting rid of those catastrophizing beliefs and stuff like that, and having an all or nothing mindset. So that's, I think, what's helped me most over the years. And like I said, I have other ones that I've dealt with, but those are probably the main two ones.
I love it. I love it. And it's so true. There's like so many things that you can do. And I always say too, like what works for one may not work for another, but finding that strategy, that tool that you can use for yourself. So that's amazing. Bella.
Yeah, I'm in the camp of I'm too much. Not that I'm not good enough or that I'm not enough, but I'm too much. So it's like you share too much, you talk too much, you this too much, do that too much. So I'm from that camp. And I think for me, then it came down to like, okay, maybe I shouldn't say anything. So then I realized that I was silencing myself. I actually thought it was a person who I divorced that was silencing me. But once I was alone on my own, I'm like, no, you know what? I'm silencing myself. And being alone, I really felt like I needed to go from within. So I've done a deep dive from within. And so I challenge all my limiting beliefs now. And I notice them when they come up. So that's the first part for me, is just noticing them. It's like, oh, well, I have this idea. It's like, oh, no, you can't do that. It's like, why? Why can't I do that? I could learn how to do it, or I can hire somebody to help me either do it or for me to learn how to do it. So those are the choices I think that keep people stuck, is that they don't realize that they have choices. Because that's the thing that I was thinking about, of just, we're not fearing the fear, we're fearing the feelings of fear. So because we're fearing the feelings of fear, we're wanting to run from it, when actually I'm the type that runs into it. Because the only way that I'm going to conquer it, the only way that I'm going to learn, is if I run into it and learn more about it, because it's much bigger and scarier if we don't know about it. So I've learned how to challenge myself, and I realize now, we're all authors, but I realize I'm an auditory writer. So I can't just like pick up a pen and just start writing. But rather than holding me back, I learned a way that I'm like, oh my God, like if I just talk about it, then I'll start thinking of all these things and then I could write about it. So I'm not a bad writer. It's just that, I need a different way of inspiration. So I think that's the thing about finding what works for you. And like what we all had talked about, we have different things, but we found a way to overcome them. And I think that's what's super important. So my latest limiting belief that I just got over was that he's still looking for me. So that psycho person that I divorced, he's still looking for me. I have a court order. If I change my name, then this and that. If I have this name related to this business, and, he's going to come after me, he's going to find me, he's going to pretend he's somebody else. And then, so finally I was like, you know what? I'm just going to F that. Because I am ruining and running my life off of this limiting belief. And the proof of that is that I'm no longer narcissistic supply, and I'm no use for him anyway. So I just said, F that. And so that was my latest limiting belief, is that I'm not going to run my whole life off of this one person and hold myself back. And yeah, and all of you badasses have really helped me just, continue to move on in business, and continue to not make it work, but feel into who we are and development and who we are, and authentic, and come from that authentic place, so that we can have a business that we're excited about and passionate about, and that we can share truly from our authentic heart and place, even if we're scared or feeling scared or feeling the fear, that we do it, but we do it in an empowered way. And we do it together by lifting all of us, each other up, which is one of the things that I think that happens with the limiting beliefs, is that we feel like we're separate, or that we're feeling like we're not supported. And that's what fear does. So when we become friends with the fear, then we know that we're supported and loved, and people, that we have the passion inside of us and the unique ability in our gifts and talents, that we can touch people in ways that nobody else can. So there is no competition. It is all this, this collaboration, and like what we're doing today, that we learn and we grow with each other and through each other, and we lift each other up. So that's really helped me just get through that, the feeling of fear and what holds me back. And so basically I challenge that. And so to that challenge, then I find the truth. So yeah, thank you.
That was so beautifully said. That was amazing. And it's so true. Like, even the things we go through, the limiting beliefs, the fears, all that, having your tribe of women, like, even on a personal side note too, like me going through things, like She Rises Collective, like all there, supportive. We like uplift one another. Like it was even said, when one falls, we bring up the rest. So that's so powerful. And it's true, like even doing that mindset inner work is having your support, your community, being around those people, learning from them as well. So wonderful, amazing. My next question, because I know my other question was share some strategies, and you guys gave such amazing things. I would like to ask, how do you recognize a limiting belief in yourself? So maybe there's someone watching that probably is like, okay, seriously, like I know like there's something, but what are these limiting beliefs? Or, someone that knows that they are like working on their limiting beliefs, but how do you recognize it? If anyone wants to chime in.
Well, I can chip in there. For me, it's I get to a point, and I've spoken to other people who they go, yeah, I do that as well, where I will start to annoy myself because I know there's something I should be doing, but I'm just not doing it. And sometimes that's like the ironing or something I don't enjoy. I'm just, but where it's something major that's really holding me back in my business or life, and I'm thinking, I know I should, but I won't. For me, that's the time to go, why am I not? What am I afraid of? And to answer that question, what am I afraid of? And it's already been said that oftentimes it comes back to that I'm not enough, that I'm not good enough. And often it does come back to that, but usually it's something like, I'm going to get it wrong. I'm going to look like an idiot. People are going to laugh at me. People are going to not like me. It's like very, very familiar things that impact the human psyche. This is part of who we are, and it impacts us all at some stage. But for me, that's the thing. It's like, I know if there's something where I'm thinking I really should do more live videos, I really should get on some sales calls, and I'm not doing it. For me, that's the time to question, right, what am I afraid of? What's the limiting belief that's holding me back here? That's my signal.
Love that. Martina.
Well, so I mean, I think an easy way to determine whether it's a belief and not just a thought is if you have a thought and you say it and you feel emotion while you're saying it. So if you say, I'm not good enough, like whatever, like that's not a belief. That's not a limiting belief. But if there's some real true emotion that comes up when you say things, your typical limiting beliefs, like maybe it's too late to start a new career, right? Or stuff like that. And if you feel the emotion, then it's really impacting you. It's not just a fleeting thought.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Elisa, I think you had your hand up, or was it Bella? Sorry, everyone switched.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, I love that, Martina. I love that you had mentioned about the emotion, because that's what really is the huge trigger for us, is that emotion. And for me, I really feel like the question is this empowering or disempowering? If I'm feeling that emotion, am I feeling heavy or if I'm feeling light? So I really go into like my body more than my thoughts, because our thoughts can thoughts can take us in so many different places. But the easy way is just, how am I feeling in my body? And if it's feeling, if I'm resisting, if I'm feeling heavy, if I'm feeling yucky, if I'm feeling not good about it, then yeah, that's where I go with that. And then, as I said, the disempowering piece, because if it is disempowering, it does have that emotion, and it is connected with our actions. And just by helping people with that, identifying that, that's a huge release. And that's another thing, is it's not only identifying it, but then to let it go. And then somebody, I can't remember who it was, talked about like the positive anchors, the anchors that we need to hold on to get us past that stuck point. Because, okay, great, we identified it, we let it go, now what? So in that whole process, it's that trust that if we can get ourselves into a comfort zone, we can come into a new normal, and that will be our comfort zone. So always being uncomfortable, or being comfortable with being uncomfortable, getting outside of the comfort zone, and then I call it embracing mystery, so that we're not afraid of the unknown, because the unknown doesn't necessarily mean bad.
Beautiful, beautiful. Anyone else have anything to chime in? Oh, Elisa.
Yeah. So for me, a limiting belief in how you can recognize it is we all have dreams and goals that are God-given, right? That are inside of us, and every time we have an intuitive hit, every time we have a gut feeling, right? To do something, to talk to someone, to say something, we have all those constantly. And yet what a limiting belief does is it slows us down. It stops us from living that dream, from pursuing that goal that lights us up, that is who we are, that helps us become more of who we need to be. So a limiting belief is anything that stops you, that slows you down from wanting to reach those dreams and goals. Anything that says, I'm not good enough, I might be losing myself, I don't know enough, anything that, again, that questions your worth, that questions your lovability, that questions your capability, because I believe that we are very powerful beings, and anything that attacks that is a limiting belief. And I, like Bella, I also love to go into the body, because most people don't catch their thoughts. Most people catch themselves in the action, or after they see a result, after they're like, oh, look what I created, right? That's when they realize, oh, there's something wrong. So look at your life, and you can start there. If you can't catch your thoughts, start with your results. Okay, so what have you created right now that is not aligned with who you are or who you want to be? What did you do or not do to that created those results? And then what were you feeling when you said and did those things? What was the energy that you had while you were doing those things that created those results? And what thoughts, what beliefs did you have that made you feel that way? Because, and that's kind of how you go backwards to track your belief. It's look at what you created, look what you have, look at your relationships, look at your bank account, look at your body, look at your business, look at what you have created, because your thoughts have created all that. Sorry. So whatever you want that it's not currently here, if you are on point A and you want to be point B, what did you do? Go backwards. What did you do? What did you feel that created those actions? And how did you feel? And what were the thoughts that led you to feeling that way? And then that's kind of how you can start working backwards and seeing your beliefs, seeing your actions, and then you can start changing them. But again, a limiting belief is anything that slows you, that stops you from, and that hinders you, and that dims your light. Anything that does that, anything that makes you feel less than, pretty much.
Absolutely love that. Thank you so much. Anyone else want to chime in? We're all good. We have another question. How can we celebrate our success and acknowledging our progresses along the way as we continue to break free from our limiting beliefs? And that can go into also like, how can we maintain a sense of gratitude and positivity even in the face of obstacles? So it's like a A-B. Anyone want to chime in? If I have to repeat the question, I will.
Well, maybe I can jump in here. It was quite interesting what everyone else said about the limiting beliefs. And it's funny how science now is coming to the point where it's accepting that actually faith, belief, and science go hand in hand. But at some point, back in time, we separated those two. Everything physical is science, everything non-physical goes with faith, or religion. And now things are starting to mix up quite a lot. And it's quite fascinating how every belief we have is limited. Absolutely every belief we have. The question is that limited belief healthy or unhealthy for your physical existence? For everything that Elisa basically said, your money, your life, your relationship, your career, your house, your health, your physical existence. Because a limited belief is also, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to be a singer. That's a limiting belief. That's automatically shaping you into a singer point. Nothing else, nothing more. No more, no less. But if you wake up tomorrow and you decide, you know what, today it's going to be a brand new day, that's completely shapeless. That opens you up to unlimited possibilities, basically. And I think that can very easily relate with the growth mindset and overcoming obstacles, because your beliefs are always limited, and that's always going to be an obstacle, because tomorrow you may not actually want to be a singer when that is presented to you, and you brought yourself to that. But was that unhealthy? No, you just didn't want that anymore. You want something else now. But as long as you keep shaping those beliefs in a proper shape or form, and they all have a label and a title that we can assume it's going to be something, they will always be limited, sorry. So for me personally, I know and I accepted that all my beliefs are limited. My question at the end of the day is, are they healthy or unhealthy for me? Are they helping me have a better existence or stopping me having a better existence? And if I decide that I'm just going to live with the mindset that I'm going to have a better day tomorrow, one way or another, anything, the smallest thing could actually make me happy, because I'm like, hey, I knew it. I knew I'm going to have a better day. And I'm not specifying that it's going to be, oh, I'm going to get that email or I'm going to get that client. Because if it doesn't happen, I'm going to feel again disappointed. And that combination with disappointment and fear, because we keep comparing. I mean, beliefs are comparison with something we already know. I'm not good enough because my mom said that, why can't you be more like the neighbor kid? Or I'm too much because someone said that because they compared me with someone else. Or I don't want to speak in front of a public because people will laugh at me, and so on. We always compare, and that's how we build those beliefs. I believe I'm bad because of this or that. And as long as I stop compare, even the smallest thing can make you happy. But you have to make it shapeless. As long as it has a shape or form, it's already limited.
That is so powerful. I love that. Thank you. Anyone else want to chime in? Elisa?
Yeah, this is I love this question because it's something I've been working on this past year. Again, going back to my limiting belief, I was making my past be proof and evidence that things were not working for me. everything, right? When we have a limiting belief, we go into the past and we start looking for evidence and we're like, see, this is what it is. And we take out our backpack and we're like, look at this time and this other time. Remember that time? That's why it's not working. So for me, celebrating myself was so helpful to get rid of that limiting belief. I started celebrating myself like for the first time this year. Like 38 years old, and I had never celebrated because of my perfectionism. I'm not perfect. I don't have it yet. No, not quite. We all have all these goals that we think we need to achieve in order to celebrate ourselves. When I reach this, then I can celebrate myself. But then that's like feeding the limiting belief. So I started celebrating myself by celebrating the little wins, everything in my day. How did I get here today? What did I have to do to get up this morning? Who did I have to become? What energy did I have to be in to do this? Just getting up and just being here, finding things to celebrate can actually help you get rid of your limiting beliefs, because now I see all these wins and look at that as it is working for me. And I have used the past. Now I use the past as evidence that it is working for me. That's another tool that will help you start celebrating yourself today. Instead of using the past to shame yourself or others, because we do this all the time. I used to do this in my relationship. I used to have like a pantry full of jars of all the things my husband didn't do and be like, here, and every time he did it something new, everything will come back and be like, nope, but remember all these things you did 20 years ago, I still hold on to them, right? We do this, right? We go into the past to prove that things are not working in our relationships, in our business, in us. So what I do now, after learning to celebrate myself, because I see more of the wins, I can go in the past and use that as reinforcement and look at all my failures and see how was that a win for me? How was that a win for others? And I do the same in my marriage. I look at my husband and I see how is him reacting like that, meaning that our relationship is working. How is this argument good for our marriage? Like, how is this, like, I make things a win-win. And then I can celebrate. We can overcome whatever obstacle we're going through with celebration and the win-win mentality. That's what has helped me and my marriage.
Amazing. Love it. Love it. You guys are giving so much amazing insight, value, tools, everything. This is so great. Does anyone else have anything to chime into? Bella?
I always get so passionate when I hear Elisa talk. Well, one of the things that I learned from Elisa was about the drama triangle. I've heard about this concept before, but it's actually, for me, a very beautiful visual of how we can get out of that victim mode and come into creativity. So each time that I'm feeling myself, maybe feeling powerless, maybe wanting to cry, maybe wanting to break down or whatever, I go directly to creator mode, because I know that I create my own reality. And yeah, I do celebrate like every single little thing. I had gut issues at one point, so I was constipated. And yeah, even for my flow in the bathroom, I'd be like, good job, Bella. That was awesome. And I would do it to the point where I called my friend who's a yogi, and she's also, very natural, vegan and all of that. And I would be sharing that with her so much that she thought it was an orgasm. She was like, I thought you were talking about an orgasm. But it was in a sense, right? Because when we can celebrate ourselves, we bring up that emotion of joy, and then we can that can become our anchor, right? Each time that we celebrate something that's helped us get out of the past and helped us get into being and feeling more empowered and coming more into our truth. So, and then there's one more technique that I've used too, is that I've thought that when I was served with papers that it was the end of the world, and I walked into the conference room and I said, it could be worse. I mean, this was a legal thing. I said, but it could be worse. I said, either you could have a terminal illness or you could be incarcerated with, it for life. And I'm like, you could work this out. So, with that attitude, I actually did. And that was also another thing too, is open up and ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. So I did. I talked to my chiropractor that day, and she is like, oh, it's no big deal. She got me a list of different attorneys that she just looked up, things that we might feel helpless with. And I called an attorney. He helped me through the process of just the trust and the knowing that I can get through this. So thank
That's
you.
amazing. Now, anyone else, anything to chime in before the next final question? Nope. Okay, so here is to wrap up. This is so amazing. One piece of advice that each of you would give to the audience who are working on overcoming their limiting beliefs. Anything that you guys want to share that comes to mind? Martina.
So similar to what Elisa said, I think that we go through life, and as we go through life, our large suitcase becomes really heavy with all this baggage that we're carrying around with us. So in order to overcome limiting beliefs, we need to open up, lift that rug up, take a look inside. What do you have there? It's like so old you don't even remember what's there. And the technique that I use with my clients is a 7-step process for belief shifting. And it really starts with them identifying the problem. They might state it out loud, coming to the actual problem, and then I'll ask them to say in a few words, what is the problem? And then they close their eyes, and I create this vestibule of holding space, so they feel safe to really go into their mind, go into the past, and really think about what the problem is. And, what do they believe about themselves that's causing them to experience the problem? And also, what is the opposite belief about themselves would they rather have, right? So you think of yourself as one thing, but what is the opposite? So it's really about dissolving the limiting belief, not ignoring it, but opening up that luggage and being like, that's it. And I need to solve this problem now so it goes away. And then it's also about them looking at, what kind of person believes the limiting belief, and really feel themselves going into that identity of the person themselves having that limiting belief, right? And what do they notice about it? And then the same process goes with the opposite belief. What kind of person thinks they are enough? They're good enough. They're confident. They're incredible. They're invincible. And the same thing, feel themselves getting into that identity. And it's sort of a process that from steps 1 through 3, we go over and over until they are able to say, about when I ask the opposite belief, hey, are you invincible? And then they'll say, that's me, because their belief about themselves has completely changed. So I love using this technique. It's so effective. It could go anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. But it's really about them going into their own heads, their own mind, their own past, and really dealing with it. So that problem, we can toss it away. Bye-bye.
So amazing. Thank you. Anyone else want to chime in?
I can chime in.
Andrea.
Yeah, so I love what you said, Martina. I have some of the similar things in there, but what I like to do, especially like in workshops, is I start with phrases like I'm the kind of person who, and I'm the kind of person who can't and or could never, blah, 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 blah. And you kind of start there and then you look at it like, okay, whose belief is this? Is this my belief? Did it happen to me because an experience, that I had as a kid? And so now my 5-year-old self told me that I was bad speaking in public because I tried to raise my hand one time and I got yelled at or something like that. Or is it something that like, did I learn it from society? Did I learn it from media? Is it my belief or have I gotten it somewhere? And then starting to look at like, how do I benefit from having this belief? Because if we recognize that like limiting beliefs, they're supposed to, we think that we're keeping ourselves safe. And actually looking at that, like, okay, how do I keep myself safe? How do I think I'm protecting myself by believing this? So somebody might say, I'm bad with people. Okay, so then let's say they have a networking event at work, they don't go. Okay, they kind of sabotage themselves because of that. And then in the end, they get to say, okay, well, I'm not good with people anyway. Like, I'm sure it wouldn't have been useful anyway. And then once you look at that and you figure out like how you might benefit, then you can think of, okay, what's the opposite belief? And a lot of times when you say like, let's say like, I'm not good with people. If you look at the opposite, like, so I am good with people. Most people, there's a part of their brain that's going to be like, no, you liar. And so you have to be able to catch yourself in that moment and be like, okay, what's a little bit of a softer way that we can approach that? Can we say something like, I'm open to the idea that I can learn to be better with people, or I'm willing to be better with people. And that feels a lot softer. And especially, as we do EFT tapping, I integrate all of those affirmations in it because at the beginning, it just doesn't sound like very believable for a lot of people. They're like, that's not true. You can't convince me that. But as you go through the tapping process and you allow yourself to be open and allow it, that's how you can start changing it. And then I also try to get people to take maybe one action step to be able to convince themselves that it is true. So like just one thing, so you can create evidence. It's like if you go to the gym and you do one setup, it's not going to work for your confidence. Like you have to be able to do it consistently and slowly over time so that you can add that proof. And then I wanted to close it with the idea that it's always important to like recognize that you might try to talk yourself out of all of these things. But there's such a good quote. And it was like, there are people who are less qualified than you are doing things that you want to do simply because they believed in themselves. And so I always think, if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? That's my closing.
Amazing. Thank you. Annabelle, I don't know if you had your hand up. I saw a hand go up or
Didn't, but now that you've come to me, then,
okay,
yes, I'll chip in just in the last minute or so. Again, some fantastic techniques that have been shared by everyone during this conversation. One of the things that I encourage my clients to do is to obviously there's a process to be gone through to get to this point, which we've kind of covered, but to think about learn, leverage, or leave. In order to overcome that limiting belief, what do they need to learn and do differently? What strengths do they already have that they can leverage? So that's really reinforcing the positive. And what do they recognize now that they need to leave behind because it no longer serves them? And particularly with that leaving it behind piece, well, probably with all three, I would encourage them to make a commitment in the coaching conversation with me, but a commitment to themselves that this is what they're going to learn and put into action. These are the strengths that they now recognize they have that they can leverage. This is what they commit to leaving behind because it's no longer of any use to them.
Thank you so much. Anyone else want to chip in before we end our roundtable talk here with so much value?
I love that. Yeah, I've been taking notes all of this because I think you all are amazing. And I love that learn, leverage, or leave. It's such a beautiful way of knowing and believing and trusting that we have the choices of either. And I think that's what happens is that we get into our child self, our child helpless, hopeless self. And we need to remind ourselves that we have choices as this, beautiful adult woman that we have evolved into, and being able to know, trust, and like our own self, and having that connection deeply with our own self involves it's a lot of courage for us to open up and to be vulnerable and to want to seek the truth. But when we do that, we could deeply connect with ourselves, and that's the way that I feel that we can deeply connect with others. So everything follows through with our choices, and just having that simple tool of the learn, leverage, and leave. I mean, it's just so amazing how you describe that, because that's what my whole message is that we have a choice, and we're the only ones that are holding ourselves back. So once we learn that we have a choice, and get ourselves to that place of empowerment, which coaches and leaders, guides can help us get to, mentors, right? But it comes from within. So it's nothing that anybody can tell us, and that we have our unique ways of doing things, and figuring out those ways is going to help us be deeply in touch with ourselves, be compassionate with that wounded inner child, and be able to know that we have the possibility, the capability, and that we are successful at reparenting that inner child. And I think that's the most empowering belief that we can have, is that we can heal ourselves, and we we don't need to do it alone. That's the part that people always feel that they need to do it themselves. But that trust and honesty and courage to be able to really dig deep from within is so worth it, because that joy, and that love, and um, that whole independence that we get from all of this, that inner work is so crucial. I think when we talk about self-love and self-care, people are like, yeah, I don't do enough of that kind of thing, right? It's like, no, this is your life. It's vital. This is essential that you do that. So I really appreciate everybody's collaboration today. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Oh, and I thought I had my mic muted. I didn't. Yana, or Lisa, you want anything to chime in before we close the show?
Yeah, really quick, but I mean, I know we're over the hour. I just, one thing that I was thinking about is just a limiting belief keeps us in this empowerment, keeps us blaming others. The only way to get out of that is to slow down enough to catch our brains. That's why having a mentor, a coach like Bella said is so important, because we have a brain on top of our brain to like point those things out. But slowing down is the key to creating awareness around what we are creating, what we are building, who we are becoming. So then we can take responsibility for our own results, actions, feelings, and thoughts. Owning up that we are the only ones responsible to meet our own needs, to meet our own, to find the safety in our own emotional well-being, and find the safety within us, that nobody else is responsible for that, which is the only thing that gets us out of those limiting beliefs and this empowerment, is taking responsibility. But first we have to create awareness by slowing down and looking at what we are creating, what we are doing, what we're believing and feeling in our bodies.
Now I'm muted. Awesome. Amazing. So I just want to thank everyone for being able to, give all your wonderful insight, your practical tools that everyone can take away with this and start implementing them. I really, truly believe it is collaboration over competition. You need your tribe of women to support one another on our life journey. So thank you all for speaking today and, being here with us. Truly appreciate it all. And you all, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.